Shalom, shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. All praise to the Most High for all things, always. Back at it again in Bible History 101. We're continuing our series on Joshua and the Judges. And our final part to this series, we'll be going over the last bit of the book of Judges. A couple of stories that link together, that kind of link together. But we'll be going through this history, and if you haven't seen the other series, go back and start them over. But we'll get into it. And again, I want everyone to remember that the time period of the book of Judges, there aren't a lot of role models during the time period of the Judges. And I do want to start by reading this verse that pretty much summarizes the whole book of Judges, but not only the book of Judges, but especially what we're reading tonight. I just want to check this real quick. Most High for all things. Okay, so my audio is picking up. All praise to the Most High for that thing. All right, so right here in Judges 21 and 25, it's the last verse. It's the last verse in all of the book of Judges. It summarizes the book of Judges, but especially what we're reading here tonight. Judges 21 and 25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. All right, so that's every man, every city, every tribe of Israel did what they wanted to in their own eyes. And that's why you don't see a lot of cohesiveness in the book of Judges. You don't see a lot of unification in the book of Judges, and you see a lot of wickedness because there was nobody there to enforce the law, as you would see from King David later on down the line. All right, so with that, we're going to start in Judges 17, and it pretty much just sets the context for the next few chapters. All right, Judges 17, starting with verse 1. And there was a man of Mount Ephraim whose name was Micah. All right, and let's look at the map real quick. Mount Ephraim, as we've been going into all the book of Judges, Mount Ephraim is around this general vicinity right here. Let's put this over here on this side so we can see it a little better. All right, around the East Ephraim. All right, his name was Micah. And he said unto his mother, the 1100 shekels of silver that were taken from thee, about which thou cursest, and spakest of also in mine ears, behold, the silver is with me, and I took it. And his mother said, blessed be thou the Lord my son. So he was honest with his mother and said, look, those that money that you cursed, I took it. It's been with me. All right. I do want to make sure that this didn't start in 16. No, it didn't. Okay. Just make sure, because it pretty much just jumps into the story about the cursed shekels. All right. Verse 3. And when he had restored the 1100 shekels of silver to his mother, his mother said, I had wholly dedicated the silver unto the Lord from my hand for my son, to make a graven image and a molten image. Now therefore I will restore it unto thee. You see that right there? So they was going to use it for wickedness either way. Not that it's necessarily wicked to make any type of images, but around this time they were worshiping golden images and silver images. Yet he restored the money unto his mother. And his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made thereof a graven image and a molten image. And they were in the house of Micah. And the man Micah had an house of gods, and made an ephod and teraphim, and consecrated one of his sons, who became his priest. All right, so all sorts of wickedness. First of all, making the idols, right? The house of gods that he would like sell to people or give to people or whatever the case, and disregarding the priesthood of the Levites, which the Lord established, and setting up his own priests. All right, and an ephod is a special garment that a priest would wear. Teraphim means images. That's all it means. Verse 6, in those days there was no king in Israel, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And you see the scribes here are reiterating that point. Look, in those days, Israel was wicked. They just did whatever they wanted to do. Like Micah here, who made his own gods. Verse 7, and there was a young man out of Bethlehem, Judah, out of the family of Judah, who was a Levite, and he sojourned there. All right, so Bethlehem, Judah, let's pull that up. Let's zoom in a little bit. As it said, it's in Judah. So that is down here in the south. Now, as you can see, Bethlehem is North Judah, but it's still in the land of Judah, right south of Jerusalem. like southwest kind of, but pretty much just south of Jerusalem. All right, so that's where this man was from. The same city that David come out of, where Christ was born as well. But anyway, this Levite is from Bethlehem, and he journeyed into Mount Ephraim. And the man departed out of the city from Bethlehem, Judah, to sojourn where he could find a place. And he came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, as he journeyed. And Micah said unto him, Whence comest thou? And he said unto him, I am a Levite of Bethlehem, Judah, and I go to sojourn where I may find a place. And Micah said unto him, Dwell with me, and be unto me a father and a priest, and I will give thee 10 shekels of silver by the year, and a suit of apparel, and thy victuals. So the Levite went in, right? So now Micah sees this money-making opportunity, where he's like, oh, well, I was just using my sons for priests. Now the people will give validity to my gods that I make them if I have a real Levite as a priest. Verse 11, And the Levite was content to dwell with the man, and the young man was unto him as one of his sons. And Micah consecrated the Levite, and the young man became his priest, and was in the house of Micah. Then said Micah, Now know I that the Lord will do me good, seeing I have a Levite to my priest. You see that right there? So he started believing his own hype. And you would see this a lot in the Old Testament, where the Israelites wanted to worship the Lord and other gods. All right? And this is what Micah is trying to do here. But of course, the Lord said, Have no other gods before me. All right, so we keep reading into Judges 18. That's just for a little context on Micah and the way that Israel was in those days. Post Samson, but during the Judges. All right, 18 and verse 1. In those days there was no king in Israel, and in those days the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For unto that day all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. All right, so at that time you had Danites kind of scattered around the land, and mostly in the city of Dan, up here in the far north. That's where they were mostly. But then of course you had some who had taken parts of this land where they were promised, but they never really fought off the Philistines, who were over here in the Gaza coast in West Judah, and they were even still in Dan at that time, as we read in Samson. He was always fighting with the Philistines over there. All right. Among the tribes of Israel, verse 2. And the children of Dan sent of their family 5 men from their coast, men of valor, from Zorah and from Eshtaol, to spy out the land and to search it. And they said unto them, Go, search the land, who when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there. All right. So Zorah and Eshtaol, let's look at those. Zorah and Eshtaol, that's pretty much the same places where Samson grew up, around that same area. All right, just north of Judah, right there, the border cities between Dan and Judah. All right. So yeah, these men are going to spy out all the land, and they come to Mount Ephraim. Yeah, to the house of Micah. Verse 3. When they were by the house of Micah, they knew the voice of the young man, the Levite, and turned in thither, and said unto him, Who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place? And what hast thou here? And he said unto them, Thus and thus dealeth Micah with me, and hath hired me, and I am his priest. All right. So they knew the Levite, and so they started chatting him up, saying, What brought you here? And he said, Oh, I'm working for Micah. And they said unto him, Ask counsel, we pray thee, of God, that we may know whether our way which we go shall be prosperous. And the priest said unto them, Go in peace. Before the Lord is your way wherein ye go. Then the 5 men departed, and came to Laish, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless, after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure. And there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything. And they were far from the Zidonians, and had no business with any man. And they came unto their brethren to Zorah and to Eshtaol, and their brethren said unto them, What say ye? Right, so they had spied out Laish. I don't know if I know where Laish is on this map. Let's see. No, not seeing Laish. See, Lachish, I don't think that's the same thing, though. I think that's 2 different areas. Yeah, this map doesn't have all the cities. So Laish is probably somewhere where you see Dan highlighted on this map. Probably somewhere in here, if I had to guess. But anyway, they said, okay, it would be good for us to take this land, basically. And they said, "Arise, that we may go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And are ye still? Be not slothful to go, and to enter to possess the land. When ye go, ye shall come into a people secure, and to a large land, for God hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth." Right? Because these people in Laish are not prepared for war. That's what they're saying. "And there went from thence of the family of the Danites out of Zorah and Eshtal 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And they went up and pitched in Kirjath Jearim in Judah." All right, Kirjath Jearim, you see that right here on the border between Judah and Benjamin, and pretty much a border on Dan as well. Excuse me. "Wherefore they called that place Mahan Edan, unto this day. Behold, it is behind Kirjath Jearim. And they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim, and came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went out to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren, Do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod, and teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? Now, therefore, consider what ye have to do. And they turned thitherward, and came to the house of the young man the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which were of the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up, and came in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with the 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house, and fetched the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them, What do ye?" So they come in and they take, all the, idols, all the ephod, all the special garment, all that kind of stuff. All right. "And they said unto him, Hold thy peace, lay thy hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and make to us a father and a priest. Is it better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that thou be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel? And the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image, and went in the midst of the people." So these Danites said, "Hey, come be a priest for us. You don't have to work for Micah no more. Come be a priest of a whole family, of a whole tribe." They're all still in wickedness, though. It's hard not to read a story and think, "Oh, that's the good side, that's the bad side." I'm telling you, both these sides are wicked. All right, whether it be Micah, whether it be these Danites, whether it be the Levite, they're all in wickedness. All right, because they're all serving idols. Right? So that's why the priest has no loyalty, because he doesn't know anything about that. He's wicked. All right? Verse 21. "So they turned and departed, and put the little ones and the cattle in the carriage before them. And when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together, and overtook the children of Dan. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said unto Micah, What aileth thee, that thou comest with such a company? And he said, Ye have taken away my gods which I made, and the priests, and ye are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that ye say unto me? What aileth thee?" Right? So he's like, "What are you talking about? What's wrong with me? You just took all my stuff. I'm coming to get all my stuff back, and my priest." And the children of Dan said unto him, "Let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives of thy household." He's like, "Look, you better not run up, you can get done up." That's what the Danites are saying to Micah. And the children of Dan went their way. And when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. All right. Verse 27. "And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came to Laish, unto a people that were at quiet and secure, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon. And they had no business with any man, and it was in the valley that lieth by Beth Rahab. And they built a city and dwelt therein." All right. So, going back to the map. As you can see, Mount Ephraim, this is where the story started. This is where Micah house would have been, somewhere in Mount Ephraim over here. And here you have, in the land of Dan, I'm assuming Laish is somewhere around in here. Maybe like northeast Dan, maybe east Dan, right? Somewhere around in there. And let me zoom out on this real quick, because it said it was far from Zidon. Zidon is all the way up here, as you can see. So it's very far from Zidon. Even though these people were technically Canaanites, their capital would have been like Zidon, Tyre, that type of area, right? That's where the Canaanites' home base was. But generally speaking, around this time, like cities didn't have like mayors, they had like kings of certain city-states. And that's why when we read the book of Joshua, you saw all the different kings that were conquered, one king per city, right? But this city, as we read, it didn't have a king, so they were easily conquered. Nobody to rally these Canaanites against these Israelites who come and took it over. All right. So with that, verse 29, they called the name of the city Dan after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was Laish at the first. And the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests of the tribe of Dan, until the day of the captivity of the land. And they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. You see that right there? So that's where the house of God was first. That's where the tabernacle was first, was in Shiloh. So that's the origins of the city of Dan. All right. So this is Judges 19, and this is the final story in the book of Judges from 19 through 21. All right. So it's Judges 19, starting with verse 1. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. All right. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. So again, like, I do want to point out how, as it said at the beginning, there was no king in Israel in those days, nobody to enforce the law. So everybody pretty much does their own thing. So none of these people can be viewed as role models, especially this young woman who played the whore, as it said. Verse 3. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house, and when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodge there, right? So her father is basically trying to do damage control, right? Get his son-in-law back on his side. All right. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, Comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go thy way. And they sat down, did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man, Be content, I pray thee, tarry all night, and let thy heart be merry. All right, so he would stay another day, right? And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him. Therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. And the damsel's father said, Comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry. Tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home. Right? So he's trying to keep him there. Verse 10. But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. All right, so obviously, as it just said, Jebus was the old name for Jerusalem. Jerusalem right here is a border city between Judah and Benjamin. And there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him, right? The one who originally played the whore, right? And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray thee, and let us turn into this city of the Jebusites, and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah. All right, I believe Gibeah is on this map. Well, there's Gibeon. I don't see Gibeah. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I'm not seeing Gibeah on the map, but it is in the land of Benjamin. All right. I don't think it's the same as Gibeon. I think it's different. And he said unto his servant, Come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night, in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belonged to Benjamin. And as it said right there, it's a part of Benjamin. But he mentioned Ramah. Do I see Ramah? Yes. Ramah is right here. So Ramah is just north of Jerusalem. All right, so he said, let's turn back and go to a city of Israel, whether it be Gibeah or whether it be Ramah. All right. So they went to Gibeah. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in a street of the city. But there was no man that took them into his house to lodge in. Right. So they were out in the streets. Verse 16. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at evening, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Gibeah. But the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, Whither goest thou? And whence comest thou? Right. So this old man is an Ephraimite who moved down to Gibeah. And he said unto him, We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. So he said, Look, I'm from Bethlehem. I was visiting Mount Ephraim. Now I done come back down. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord. And there is no man that receiveth me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses. And there is bread and wine also for me, and for thy handmaid, and for the young man which is with thy servants. There is no want of anything. He's like, look, all I need is a place to stay. I got everything I need to feed my animals, to feed my people, all that kind of stuff. And the old man said, Peace be with thee. Howsoever let all thy wants lie upon me. Only lodge not in the street. All right. And you about to see why this man did not want them in the street. Because those streets back then was about like the streets of, the ghettos of America today, or even worse, really. Like the streets of maybe like Brazil or some places even worse than that. All right. So he brought him into his house and gave provender to the asses, and then washed their feet and did eat and drink. Verse 23. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, meaning they were the devil. When the scripture says they were sons of Belial, that means they're evil. They're the devil. Beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. Right? So this is very similar, very reminiscent of those men of Sodom. All right? That, gay rape culture. All right. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them and said unto them, Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into my house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so vile a thing. So the owner of the house is there like, look, at least have sex with women. Don't try to rape these dudes. All right? Or this man, I should say, this one man. Verse 25. But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her, and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house where her lord was, till it was light. So, quite literally, they raped this woman to death. All right, verse 27. And her lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman his concubine was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said unto her, Up, and let us be going. But none answered. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up and gat him unto his place. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. Right? So he took her dead body, chopped it up, sent it all throughout Israel. And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done, nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Consider of it, take advice, and speak your minds. All right, so he sent a little note saying, look, this is what happened. This is what y'all, speak your minds. Say what you need to say on this, Chapter 20. Verse 1. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man, from Dan even to Beersheba. All right. So when it says from Dan to Beersheba, I just pointed out the city of Dan up top. Let me zoom out a little bit on this map. When it says from Dan to Beersheba, Dan is one of the most northern cities in all of Israel, and Beersheba is one of the most, here we see Beersheba right here, one of the southernmost cities in all of Israel. And I'll zoom out a little bit more so you can see that. So it means all of Israel. When it says from Dan to Beersheba, that's what the scriptures talk about. It means all the land of Israel. All right. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. It said, with the land of Gilead, meaning east of the Jordan, and I'll point out the land of Gilead before. It's right here. And Gad and Manasseh, basically. Gad and East Manasseh. East of the Jordan, unto the Lord in Mizpeh, right? Mizpeh is on the border between Ephraim and Benjamin. In Mizpeh, and the chief of the people, even of the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew the sword. So this is 400,000 people. 400,000 warriors, men of the army. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpeh. Then said the children of Israel, tell us, how was this wickedness? And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah that belonged to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose up against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me, and my concubine have they forced, that she is dead. Alright. And I took my concubine and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, ye are all children of Israel, give here your advice and counsel, he said. So what needs to be done about this? Because this city of Gibeah is wicked. It's very evil. All right, he gave them the story. They said, okay, give us the story again. What happened? Explain this to us. He's like, look, man, I was just trying to go through the city. And then they raped my wife, raped my concubine. Tried to rape me too. Verse 8. And all this people arose as one man, saying, we will not any of us go to his tent, neither will we any of us turn into his house. So this is the most united that the children of Israel have been throughout all the book of Judges. And this still turned against one tribe, or one city in Israel right now. It's going to turn against the whole tribe of Benjamin. All right. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up by lot against it. And we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel. So he said, look, we're going to choose a specific number of men, and they're going to go up, and they're going to go to war against Gibeah. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is this that is done among you, right? So they're like, why are you condoning this? Asking the Benjamites, all the rest of the cities in Benjamin, like, why are you condoning this? Why y'all should have dealt with this before it even got to this point. Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away the evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel, right? So Benjamin is like, oh, well, they're Benjamite, we stick up for them, even though they're wicked as hell and evil. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah, to go out to battle against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. All right, so what does that say? 26,700, right? Total of the Benjamites. Among all this people were 700 chosen men left-handed. Everyone could sling stones at an hairbreadth and not miss, right? So they were, sharpshooters. And the men of Israel beside Benjamin were numbered 400,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of war. Verse 18. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. So these Benjamites weren't playing, all right? Plus they had home field advantage, and Israel, or the rest of the tribes rather, was probably looking at it like, oh, this is going to be easy. They ain't got many men, but these Benjamites fought hard, right? Killed 22,000 men of the Israelites. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? And the Lord said, go up against him, right? Because they're sitting here asking, like, dang, they whooped our ass so bad, Should we even be fighting against them? And the Lord's like, yeah, they're wicked as hell. Go up and fight against them again. Verse 24. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel, again, 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. All right. But, Benjamin had those sharpshooters out of Gibeah. They come against the walls of Gibeah. Then sharpshooters get them before they even get to the wall, right? So he had 26,000, or no, it was 22,000, then 18,000, right? Total of 40,000. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God and wept and sat there before the Lord and fasted that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. Right, so he said, on the third day, I'll deliver them into your hand. And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah, as at other times. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite of the people, and kill, as at other times, in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, They are smitten down before us, as at the first. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee, and draw them from the city unto the highways. So they said, Look, we're going to bring them out of the city, out from the walls that are protecting them, and then we're going to get them. And the men of Israel rose up out of their place, and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against the Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and the battle was sore. But they knew not that evil was near them. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 25,100 men. 25,100. All these drew the sword. Verse 36. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait, which they had set beside Gibeah. Right, so they come with a tactic, they come with a plan of action that time, and it worked. Ended up killing 25,100 men out of the Benjamites. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city, right, set it on fire. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill the men of Israel, about 30 persons. For they said, Surely they are smitten down before us, as in the first battle. But when the flame began to rise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. Right, so the Benjamites were like, Wait a minute, the city's on fire, what happened? And it distracted them. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. Right? They realized it was a trap. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel unto the way of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them. And them which came out of the cities, they destroyed in the midst of them. Right? So they destroyed all the Benjamites who came from Gibeah, right? Who left the city. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, chased them, trode them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sun rising, and there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor. They turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon, and they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them unto Gittim, and slew 2,000 men of them, so that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of valor. But 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness unto the rock Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. Right, so they had to chase them into a cave, and they hid there for 4 months in a cave. The men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of every city as the beast, and all that came to hand. Also they set on fire all the cities that they came to. Right, so they destroyed all the land of Benjamin. Right, killing and slaying as they went through. All right. So now we get to the last chapter of the book of Judges, the aftermath of this battle against the children of Benjamin. Judges 21. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpeh, saying, there shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. Right? Because they were through with the tribe of Benjamin at that point. And the people came to the house of God and abode there till even before God, and lifted up their voices and wept sore. And said, O Lord God of Israel, why has this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? So they basically view this as the end of the tribe of Benjamin, right? Like Benjamin is through. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpeh, saying, he shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, there is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. Right? They're saying, like, there's no way for them to repopulate, because no man can give his daughter unto a Benjamite, because they had made that oath that day when they were pissed off at Benjamin. All right. Verse 7, how shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives? Verse 6, this is verse 8. And they said, what one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpeh to the Lord? And behold, there came none to the camp of Jabesh Gilead. Okay. There came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. Verse 9, for the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. All right, so let's see if we can find Jabesh. I don't know if we can find, yeah, here it is, right here. All right, so it's just across the Jordan. Just across the Jordan in northern Gilead, part of the land of Gad. All right. Verse 10, and the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children. Verse 11, and this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man. Verse 12, and they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had known no man by lying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Right? So, again, the Jabesh Gilead didn't come up to the battle, so the rest of the tribes hating on that city, so they come and destroy that city, and then took some young women who had never had sex before, and they brought them to Shiloh. Verse 13, and the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the right mind, and to call peaceably unto them. I don't know if I ever pointed out Shiloh on here, but it's down here in Ephraim, or in Mount Ephraim, same region, East Ephraim, mountainous region of Ephraim. All right. Verse 14, and Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not, right? Because it wasn't that many. It's not enough to repopulate a whole tribe. Verse 15, and the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel, right? So now they're feeling sorry for the tribe of Benjamin, because they damn near wiped them out, all right? Verse 16, then the elders of the congregation said, how shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? And they said, there must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel. Howbeit, we may not give them wives of our daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn, saying, cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin. All right, and that goes back to the vows that we talked about last week. All right, and how crucial and how important vows were back in the day, and how we're not supposed to do that now into Christ because we're not worthy to do so. Same way that these men of Israel were not worthy to do so back then. They regretted it not too long after they made the vow. Verse 19. And then they said, behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh yearly, in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway. They goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, on the south of Lebonah. So they said, okay, there's a feast day coming up. Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see, and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances, then come ye out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. Right? So they're saying, look, there's going to be women out there looking for husbands. Y'all sneak and get them so that, you know, men won't realize their daughter is getting a Benjamite for a husband. All right? And it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war. For ye did not give unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty. Right? So they're saying sneak because, we made that vow, but when the fathers and the brothers of these women inevitably get mad, obviously they would if this was the case, but we'll say that, hey, be merciful unto them, all right, because they got to repopulate. Verse 23, and the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to their number of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned into their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe, to his family, and they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance. And here's the point. Out of all this, because you may say, well, that's pretty messed up, what happened there. All of that's pretty messed up. Verse 25 here, and that's how the book of Judges closes out. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So that's the scribes letting you know, look, we're just recording the history. We're not telling you that all this was right, that all this is what you're supposed to do, that this is an example to live by. They said, look, we know this ain't right, all right? But this is what happened, and this is the context of those time periods, right? And we will continue with history next week, Lord's will, on Samuel and King Saul. All right, we'll start with the kings, and you start to see order established with Samuel, and David is after Saul. But with that, I hope you learned something. Again, I want to give all praise to the Most High, and with that, I say shalom. Most High and Christ bless.